In today's video, we're going to chat through whether or not the trading card hobby is facing a bit of a house of cards moment. And there's no pun intended when I say house of cards, but this is just something that's been in the back of my mind for quite some time, and I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this down in the comments below. So please listen to what I have to say and then share your opinion on this at the very end of the video. Now, when I say house of cards, I picture the big three sports at the very top of this thing, right? You've got Major League Baseball, your NFL, and your NBA, okay? Those are all really popular, obviously, in the US of A, but then also very popular outside of that country and Canada as well, okay? So they are quite popular from an international perspective. Now, when I say house of cards, I see those things at the top, and then you see things that have come in recently that become really, really popular over the last few years. And they'll be like other sports like F1. You've got soccer that's been around for a bit longer than that, but it is still quite popular. You've got these WWE cards. There's probably a few other sports that I can't recall right now. You also have things like MetaZoo, Fortnite, and a few other things that I, again, can't recall right now, but they've all come in over the last 2 years to try and cash in on this boom, right? Some of those have been there longer, but some of those have purely come in on this recent hype run. Now, the reason why I think it's a bit of a house of cards moment, and this is something, like I said, it's been in the back of my mind for quite some time, is that you've seen F1 in particular, soccer, and a few of these other things get so popular, get the prices pushed up so high, even Marvel PMGs as an example, off the back of the hype that's coming from, the traditional sports cards. So like your MLBs, your NBAs, your NFLs, right? You've got those things there, but because they became so expensive during the boom, as in boxes of cards went up from a few $100s to being upwards of over $1,000 US. You've had like RPAs get up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in some instances, okay? Those things were typically, yes, still quite expensive relative back to what the hobby was like 10 years ago, but they became really difficult for people to get their hands on purely because the hobby became so popular. So because they were trying to fill that need, right, and they got really into cards over the last 2 years, and they saw, how these things were going, people shifted to other areas where they could make plays, right? And that was things like F1, that was things like soccer, because soccer was always an expensive set, but on a secondhand market, the cards weren't that expensive. Whereas now it's getting up there like F1, right? So my point is, you've got these people that are now chasing these other sports that they maybe didn't really care too much about in the past, and they've paid a lot of money for, and they've pushed the prices up so high because those sports and those non-sport trading card games don't maybe have the support of the big three sports, or don't have the support of Magic the Gathering, or don't have the support of Pokemon as an example. When the hype dies down, those prices are obviously going to fall quite hard. And we've seen that over the last couple of years. I might put some things up on the screen now, but we've seen that sort of happen, okay? And that's nothing new. My question here is, what is going to happen to the main sports and the main trading card games when those people leave the hobby off the back of, getting burnt so hard on the fact that, once these prices tank, they're not going to have the same level of support in terms of people actually liking those. And when I say support, I mean things like, NBA supporters are international, okay? Yes, soccer supporters are also international, but the big chunk of soccer collectors at the moment appear to be coming from the US. And they don't necessarily know all the players. They don't necessarily care about the sport. They're just primarily into buying those cards because they want to make a quick buck. And that's what I'm saying off the back of card shows myself here in Australia, looking at card show vlogs in the US, looking at things like Market Movers and Card Hedge, looking at eBay sales. You're seeing all this sort of stuff, right? And there's a few interesting things that have happened, like from a soccer card perspective, that I've seen with Sunday League investors, right? I remember a video they posted maybe like 6 months ago where they were trying to sell a Robin van Persie kaboom. And if you're not sure who Robin van Persie is, a very popular player from the Netherlands, played for Arsenal, played for Manchester United, phenomenal player, one of the best, right? Probably one of the best strikers in the last 15, 20 years. And he scored a remarkable goal in the 2014 World Cup against Spain. It was one of these goals that you'd probably never seen before, and they did a kaboom off the back of that. It was basically a flying header where he lobbed the keeper from like just inside the box. And I'll maybe play a video on the screen now for you to see it. But this is a really iconic moment, right? So if you follow the sport of soccer, if you follow the World Cup, you're going to know what this is, okay? So they made a kaboom card off the back of that. And the guys from Sunday League investors were trying to sell it. And I took it to someone and basically said, what are you interested in? Are you interested in buying this? The card's quite expensive. People that know soccer know that it's expensive. And his response was, oh no, sorry, we only want big name players. And that is just in isolation, right? But those are little things that I've seen in multiple videos that my brain is like aggregated together when it comes to things like Fortnite, when it comes to things like F1, when it comes to things like WWE, where you've got people purely buying them because they're only interested in the flip. So the concern is when that flip or opportunity to flip dies down significantly, it's not worth buying the box anymore, card prices aren't where they were. Are those cards still going to be around long term because they have the support from true collectors like NBA, MLB, NFL do? And if it doesn't, what does that mean for the rest of the hobby? Is that huge outflow of people that are only in the hobby, they can't get into the cards they want, so they go into these other cards, they have to leave because it's no longer profitable. What does that mean for the rest of the hobby? And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to that House of Cards moment. I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this down in the comments below. I know that Van Persie example was just in isolation, but I've seen similar things, and I'm sure you guys have too when you're looking at card show vlogs or attending card shows even yourself, right? Nobody seems to truly appreciate the players, the athletes, the trading card game in question, or the sport at all. Like, yes, every other sport has ups and downs, prices fluctuate during the off season, so on and so forth. But this just seems a little bit different to me. And I'm not saying this is going to be doom and gloom. I'm not saying the hobby's going to end. I think it's really, really cool that we have all these new sets now. You can see behind me, I collect anything and everything. I'm a collector at heart. I've always been. So for me, I'm always going to buy those things. And because I'm a collector at heart, I always really appreciate when you've got new people coming in and starting to appreciate things like soccer, appreciate things like F1, appreciate other trading card games as an example. It's really cool to see because, the more offerings we have, as I've said many times on the channel in the past, the more competition, the more offerings we have as customers, the better the hobby is. We want to get as many people involved as possible. But my concern is, do these people that are in it and are in it so much that they're the ones pumping the prices, so on and so forth, are they still going to be around when the prices aren't there? What does that mean for the hobby long term? So please share your thoughts down in the comments below. I just wanted to share those observations. I'm really keen to get input from others as well, because like I said, having seen like card show vlogs, going on Instagram, looking at eBay, looking at other sales platforms, looking at auction house platforms, reading forums, I'm seeing trends that I don't necessarily like, and they fill me with a bit of concern around things getting a lot worse before they do get a lot better. I'm not being doom and gloom here. I'm just raising that point because I just want to know what it means when we've got people leaving. Like, these are just Dragon Ball Z cards, okay? So then they're nothing super exciting, but like these prices got pushed up ridiculous. What does it mean for the rest of the hobby when they're no longer there? Like, are we going to see less offerings from Topps, Panini? Like, I don't think that'll happen, but you guys, I think you get what I'm trying to say. I'm really curious to see how things will head if we get that huge outflow of people that are only in it for that quick buck. And I know that could be probably said for most of the hobby as well, not just these new sports. But I'm just interested to see what's going to happen when you've got people that are pushing so much money into these new sports out of FOMO for what they're getting on the traditional sports because they couldn't get a Trevor Lawrence RPA as an example. So they're going for an RPA in F1. All right, if there is such a thing. I think there is, but the jumpsuit patches and things. Like, they've got into that because they can't get the other thing. But are they into that thing because they actually care about that thing, or are they into that thing because they want the money? And how many other people are into that thing for the same reason? They're into F1 purely because they can't get the other things they want. What does it mean when everyone else realizes, actually, I don't actually like F1. Why am I spending $10,000 on an F1 card? That's the point I'm trying to get to. Like, what's going to happen at the end of all this when people start to realize that? Like I said a little bit earlier, if people do start to appreciate these things, and maybe after getting into the cards, they're now in love with the sport, that's fantastic for the hobby. But just on what I've seen, it doesn't look like everybody is like that. So I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this. So please share those down in the comments below. I've probably said that a couple of times now. So thanks for watching. I'm not being negative here. I just want to reiterate that again. I just want to have this discussion with you all. For the regulars on the channel, you'll know that we like to have this chat in the comments. I reply generally to like 99.9% of the people in the comments, and I like to have dialogue with you all. So this is primarily what this video is for, to have a chat with you, share my thoughts, and let me know what you think, whether you agree, disagree, let me know why not. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.